Well, Ted Cruz finally showed his true colors, and the guy's an operative. That's quite obvious. You know, the thing is, he's been financed by the Koch brothers. That's another thing. They own the Republican Party, the so-called Tea Party. And I always said that the Tea Party of today is just a name. The Tea Party meant you threw the tea overboard. You know, people dressed like Indians. They got aboard the English ships. They didn't like the tea tax. They dressed like Indians, and they threw the tea overboard into the drink, so it's worthless. You know, today they just use the label. That's all it is. But where Ted Cruz actually comes into play now, where he's becoming extremely obvious that he's an operative for the New World Order in a different cloak, is that he has openly come out against Donald Trump, saying that Donald Trump was the reason there was protest against Donald Trump that were vicious and violent, and he's all to blame for that. And I was like, get the hell out of here, Cruz. Get the hell out of here, man. I got to say a couple things, too. I'm going to give you a couple angles on different things. This is another thing. He says, if your government shuts down the internet, shut down your government. But I want to tell you something. The government actually doesn't do that much. And here's a classic example. Like where I work in a CPA firm sometimes. I don't go in there all the time. I'm kind of doing this more because I know a variety of topics, and I like doing this YouTube more than just doing accounting work and that and staying in one field. I could do a variety of topics on this. That's one thing I like. It's carte blanche. But one thing I heard, like the CPA that was the head of the firm that said, and I know this is true too. He says the worst people he ever hired were former IRS agents and former people that worked for the Department of Revenue in the state. People that worked in government, and this is true. People that work in government have a hard time getting jobs in the private sector because why? Because they don't know how to work. And that really tells you what the hell's wrong with the government. People in the government, and I've actually worked in the government for like a little while. I think it was under a year, and I was like totally flabbergasted by the bullshit that went on in there. I was like, wow, this is demoralizing. These people are so freaking bad. I was glad I got out of there. It was horrible. Um, so, the fact that people think there's a lot, it is a fact that a lot of people think the government somehow helps the economy. Nah, it's a big drag on the economy, man. So, I mean, you need it, but you don't need that much of it. That's what it is. It really comes down to. Now, the one thing that is where I see where Donald Trump has gotten pissed off a lot of people is he's not in with the globalist. And I can honestly say, he honestly though, Donald Trump is a fairly liberal guy. I don't think he means all the stuff he says. He talks about he's building a wall and stuff. He's going to tighten up the immigration policies a little bit, not let it. Like he's just going to make the immigration policies like what they should be. You bring in immigrants that it don't matter if you're poor. As long as you can do some job or something that's needed over here, fine. It's not like open borders, like what's going on where the internationalists want open borders because that destroys the nation. That's what they're looking to do. They're really looking to destroy America. Donald Trump actually, is he is fairly liberal, so he might disappoint some conservatives, but I realize that he is a guy that is not a globalist. That's what's pissing him off. And Ted Cruz is a globalist. I call him Red Ted Cruz. Red Cruz. We'll call him Red Cruz. I was calling him something else before. Um, and actually, he's another repackaged thing of Jeb Bush in a lot of ways. Jeb Bush, we already know the name is dirty now. Everybody's sick of that name. If Jeb Bush didn't have his last name, his name was Jeb Cruz, he probably would have done a lot better. He probably, with all the money he had in the beginning, if his last name was Cruz, he probably would have, he'd probably be near the front or number 2 or number 3, and he'd still be in the race right now. But we know all about the Bushes. We're sick of them. Now, the thing is, Ted Cruz, though, he always reminded me of from day one, is Richard Milhous Nixon. Richard Milhous Nixon was a globalist. That's really what was wrong with him. I remember like way back when they had Watergate scandal and he almost got impeached and all that. That Watergate stuff was nothing. I was thinking, what is he getting mad at this guy for? The Watergate was like a witch hunt, really. I know, like, there was guilt and he was obstructing justice and you know what? They're all doing everything that's going on today is like 100 times worse. Hillary Clinton's doing 100 times. All the Clintons did way worse than ever. Bill Clinton did far worse than ever Richard Nixon did. The one thing I always hated about Richard Nixon, though, was not the Watergate. I was like, that is so stupid. It was like, the normalizing of relations with China, opening up the global trade, getting us off the gold standard. And the number one thing is, I can't drive 55. He tried to freaking regulate everybody driving at 55, especially like in Arizona. Nobody even freaking paid attention to that. They have a 55 national speed limit up there, and people would be driving by like 75, 80 miles an hour. The cops would be just sitting there like, we ain't doing nothing about this. Yeah, the speed limit says 55. Put a 55 mile an hour. What is this guy? I didn't like that. I didn't like that about this guy. But as far as Watergate, I didn't care. But I always felt like Ted Cruz was going to be the next Nixon. He was going to be Ted Milhouse Cruz. But that was before I really figured out that this guy is a flat-out globalist operative, Ted Cruz, because he is criticizing Donald Trump just a little bit too much. When Ted Cruz goes on the attack against Donald Trump, saying that Donald Trump was the cause of these vicious rallies against protesters at Trump rallies that are trying to destroy and disrupt the Trump rallies, and Cruz is saying Donald Trump was the problem. What, are you kidding me? I mean, come on, man. It's like if you say something somebody doesn't like, and these people come at you left and right from all different angles, and they're attacking you, and they want to physically attack you, and you're blaming the voice that's, you're blaming a person that's trying to exercise his right to free speech. Donald Trump is the front runner of the Republican Party. And Ted Cruz is jumping on it like, he's jumping on a communist bandwagon saying that, oh, Trump, it's your fault. I was like, whoa, Cruz, you just freaking totally destroyed every ounce of credibility you got. Completely, totally. Forget it. Now, Trump, I realized, though, the guy is actually a fairly liberal guy. He's a New York billionaire. That's why liberals ought to freaking really look close at this guy and say he is not. Conservatives are going to find out he's not that conservative. But where he differs from everybody else, and this is the one thing I saw and I had to find, I was kind of picking up on it in the beginning, but I didn't trust him because he's putting out a lot of rhetoric that's like really super conservative, and I know he's not about that, but there's one grain of where he's been consistent all through the years was he has been like, let's put America first. He's always talked about the unfair trade with Japan, for instance, and how we were getting our asses handed us with trade with Japan. I know he's invested in the United States real estate more than anything, but he's not going to be perfect. Nobody is. I'm not expecting anybody to be perfect. That's the way I look at it. But what I got worried about was I was wondering if he was going to pull a Ross Perot. Oh, man. Because he was buddy. Well, the other thing is, no matter how you slice it, the guy is kind of a BSer because either he was BSing about his being buddy with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton back in the day, or he's BSing now. One or the other, man. I don't know. He's a slick guy, but I figure one thing he has been consistent on, he has been consistent with America first. I don't give a shit about, I know some people say he's got an ego. I think I said that. I mean, they all got egos, man. There's nobody with a lot of money that doesn't have an ego. Nobody. I never worked for nobody like his money, but I worked for people with quite a bit of money, like lots of billions and lots of millions, tens and tens of millions, even up to 100 million, but never worked for a guy that was a billionaire. But he has an ego. There's no doubt about it. But he's actually putting America first. He's not going to be a perfect president, but I think where a lot of conservatives are going to find he's not going to be so perfect is the liberals are probably going to like him. But he's going to always get attacked because he does not follow the globalist agenda. And, whether you're liberal or conservative, and you live here in the United States, you want to be more concerned about what happens to us over here. Like, I don't think Donald Trump will be I think he'd rather see money spent in the United States on helping people in the United States versus, going on all these military excursions all over the world. Like we could have put up, 50 more hydroelectric dams for crying out loud for all the money we spent on, things going on with the military in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, and that would have benefited everybody. We could have vastly improved our infrastructure. So, yeah, he's not going to be perfect. I mean, I'm not expecting him to. Nobody is. But I think a lot of liberals are going to find out he's going to be all right. They're probably going to like him. He is a fairly liberal guy. I realize a lot of his conservative rhetoric is. I knew this from day one. Something is not adding up with this guy, man. But where I'm realizing he's a good guy, I'm going for him all the way, is the globalists have been attacking him all the way, including his own party, from these so-called conservative quote-unquote people like Ted Cruz. This guy, Richard Nixon, is almost like a mirror image of Ted Cruz, the way I look at it. Richard Nixon was a ultra right-wing quote-unquote conservative, but he was a globalist. I think anybody who's a globalist ought to be impeached, whether they're a liberal or a conservative. I don't give a shit what they are. They ought to be worse than that. I mean, this Watergate thing was like nothing to me. I was like nothing. I looked at that. I was like young. I was like a teenager then. And I was like, I used to watch the news all the time. And I was like, what the hell? This is nothing. I didn't like the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit because I like going faster than that. What the hell is this guy telling me I can't go over 55? It's ridiculous. Anyway, but anybody that poses themselves as a conservative and is still going along with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, they're still going along with this quote-unquote free trade where we get raped on all the freaking international trade deals. That's Ted Cruz. But when Ted Cruz is coming out and attacking Trump and blaming Trump because Ted Cruz is saying, Trump, it's your fault because these vicious protesters came to your rally and they want to disrupt your rally and you caused this. Get the hell out of here, man. Get the hell out of here. That's like saying I'm going to blame the Ku Klux Klan for going to a rally and you caused that to happen and you're the guy that freaking made this happen. That's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that's the kind of stuff they're associating with Trump. And I'm like, that's ridiculous because Trump is a liberal guy. He is not actually, I wouldn't really call him a conservative. He's kind of like, he can actually be a Democrat, really. But where he's different is he puts America first. And Cruz doesn't. Cruz is putting on a big act, another thing that freaking made me want to throw up about this guy, I was going to vote for him anyway, but you had the thing where he gets around with his family and he's going to pray and before the meal. I was like, dude, you're putting on a big act. I don't care about that. I mean, for crying out loud, you're putting on a big act. What, are you kidding me? But it's like you're playing the Christians like a bunch of jerks. And I look at it like this. It's not the role of the government to force religion on people anyway. Government is supposed to be pretty damn weak. You just freaking have enough military to protect the country. You keep the the national roadways going. You got some other infrastructure going. That's about it. You got a Navy out there to protect us from getting, a naval warfare landing against our shores or something. That's about it, man. You don't need all this other bullshit. It's not like the government's not out there to freaking enforce Christianity either. I'm Christian, and you're not supposed to enforce any religion. It's like it's the government, man. And, you put up an ad that you're, like, showing your pray during the thing, the lunch or whatever, the dinner. I'm like, so what? So what? I didn't like that actually right there. You weren't selling me. But when he comes out and he attacks Trump, I'm like, get the hell out of here. For as far as I know, I'd say Trump is actually, I think I am on the money with Trump. He's pretty liberal, but I'm actually kind of liberal too. I don't really give a shit about what people do or what they want to do or whatever. It's like this country's about one thing really. It's the pursuit of happiness. The way you can go about it is like as long as you don't violate anybody else's rights, you can do whatever the hell you want, man. You know, that's the way I look at it. Government should be totally hands off. I mean, I don't like conservatives too much because they get too extreme. I don't think Trump is that conservative. And but you know where I know where he's pissing him off. He's not a globalist, and Cruz is a total freaking globalist. Trans-Pacific Partnership. His wife worked for Goldman Sachs. I was like, yeah, but now he's coming out and attacking Trump because people come to Trump's rallies and attack him. I mean, these were like communist people or some shit. I mean, you know, for crying out loud. I mean, like I said, suppose the KKK came to Trump rally to protest against Trump. They didn't like Trump. Would would Cruz come out and freaking attack Trump then? You know what I mean? That Trump got the KKK mad or something like that. Would he attack him then? No, probably not. I don't know what he would do. I mean, he's just trying to attack Trump because Trump is not a globalist. I think that's the one thing you can only say about him that's been consistent throughout the years. He's a fairly liberal guy, and I really don't have a problem with that. The main thing I really got worried about with Trump was is he pulling a Ross Perot like he did with, like Ross Perot did with Bill Clinton. That's what I was worried about. Holy shit! Because I could tell you right now, the liberals should not get mad at Trump because Trump he's like a New York City liberal, man. He's not that freaking conservative. The only difference is that he's, like I said 50 times, he's not for like selling out the USA down the river because the globalists want it that way and they want the USA weak. And Ted Cruz is for that shit all the way. He's bought and sold. He's owned. He's owned. Now, as far as like what's going to happen with Trump, is he going to be able to do all this shit? I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt it. So I'm putting out this video just for information purposes. I want to get some other videos on how to do stuff because if the globalists all win out, it's the fact that we voted for Trump or if even Trump's president. I mean, one guy ain't gonna be able to fix everything. It's like we got to fix everything on our own. I want people to be healthy, strong, wise, independent, be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and those are the type of videos I want to keep putting out. And I realize some of the videos that make the most money are the ones that crazy little giddy rumors, about pyramids in Antarctica or some shit. But I don't concentrate on that type of stuff too much. But I don't know. I don't want to say nothing bad about Trump right now, but I can tell you right now, the guy is a bullshit artist. All right, he is a bullshit artist. There isn't anybody that isn't a billionaire that talks to they know how to wheel and deal. All of them, man. But I don't necessarily. But he is a guy that is more. He's got his roots in America. He wants America to stay strong. That is where he's different from everybody, flat out. And if Bernie Sanders does not win the primary, and it's Hillary Clinton versus Trump, a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters are going to go over to Trump. I know right now the Cruz people and the Rubio people, Rubio joke, are trying to say Trump can't win against Hillary. I was like, he can easily win against Hillary. You kidding me? He's not going to win against Hillary in the over at 45 group of Democrats, but the young Democrats are they're gonna probably jump on a Trump wagon, and they shouldn't have to worry about it, man. Black people shouldn't have to worry about Trump or nothing, because I think a lot of the ultra conservatives are not going to like Trump. But that's okay with me too, because I'm not that conservative, man. I'm not. I mean, I'm semi-conservative, I could say. And Cruz acts like he's an ultra-conservative, but he may be. But the really thing that's wrong with him, he is a globalist. He's a globalist. He's going to sell America out down the river. And that means all of us, man. It don't matter what race, creed, religion, or whatever the hell we are. We live here. We're getting sold out down the river by Ted Red Cruz, man, all the way. So that's where Trump's different, man. So Anyway, he's the best one we got. He ain't perfect, but he's the best one we got.